So, Michael, this piece had an interesting genesis. Paul Burt approached you how long ago now?
I think it was about 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
And he specifically asked you at that time to write a piece in honor of their friendship, he and his wife Linnea, with my parents.
Yes. And it was centered around the instruments that they all played. The oboe, clarinet, and bassoon are the instruments that both couples play. The horn was added, the French horn was added because the entire group, all four of them, they admire the French horn. So they asked if I would include that in the soloist group.
So that was the given.
Yes.
But it's an interesting combination.
Oh, it is. Yeah. I mean, I studied, Haydn has a Sinfonia Concertante, as it's called, for 4 instruments, but it's 2 winds and 2 strings. And I learned a great deal from studying that piece. It's a beautiful piece, first of all, and just the way in which he would use the instruments, sometimes as part of the orchestra, sometimes as soloists, sometimes in duos, all the different combinations that I gleaned from what he did and his piece definitely had an influence on me.
So those instruments kind of create a sound world.
Yes, they do.
And when did the numbers games enter the picture?
Yeah. Well, pretty early on, because originally I came up with the title Imaginary Dances. But then I realized there were a bunch of other pieces called Imaginary Dances, and that wasn't such a creative title. So I started thinking, what else can I attach to imaginary? And I came up with imaginary numbers, which suits me fine because I like mathematics, and numbers can also be interpreted as dances, right? So I thought I still have my dances,
or
if
a two-step.
Or a two-step. Yeah.
And so the seed ideas of each movement actually are specific.
That's an interesting point to call them seed ideas, because that's how they came about. I actually sat down at the piano in pretty short order and came up with the ideas that lead each of the 4 movements. And I put those aside for actually a number of months. Had I not done that, I don't think the piece would have been gestating the way in which it did. So when it came time to write, when I pulled those ideas back out, I was like, oh yes, I'm reacquainting myself with some old friends, and the piece really blossomed pretty easily from those ideas.
Can you take us through the 4 of them?
Sure. The first movement, I had in mind the Escher lithograph, Sky and Water 1, it's called. And in that lithograph, Escher makes geese turn into fish in a seamless way. So we have these 2 different worlds that morph one into the other. So I have this rather elaborate rhythmical scheme that constitutes the opening section of the piece. And later on, that turns into a jazzy kind of swinging theme. But actually, underneath it all is the exact same rhythmical pattern that does not change. So when it then returns at the end, when the original version returns at the end, it moves seamlessly right out of that jazzy music, and we're right back to where we were at the beginning. The second movement is, I had the dance idea in mind, and I wanted to write something that had a sort of a dance quality. And I thought specifically of a pas de deux, a dance of duos, if you will. Duos in the orchestra, duos with the soloists,
right.
Different combinations of duos, not exclusively duos, but predominantly duos. And the third movement actually flowed from the second one. There was something about the harmony of the second movement that influenced me in composing the third movement. And they connect in an odd way. I mean, harmonically, to my ear, they connect, even though,
absolutely.
Yeah, on the surface they don't. They're not. The third movement is not dance-like.
I felt it in the first reading immediately,
yeah,
that this was a child of the previous harmonic sequence.
Well, you got it right on the button.
Yeah.
And it, it has somewhat of a mysterious quality to it. It has kind of an ancient quality, ritualistic almost. And then the last movement, Mandelbrot's Rondo, I wanted to write something just fun, just something that would be fun to listen to, fun to play, certainly fun to write. I've spent a lot of time now with your parents and obviously with you and with the Burts, and when we're all together, there's always this playful environment, and I had that in mind. I had my experiences with the whole family in mind with that in that last movement, so I wanted to just write something fun and playful in honor of that. And
I think you captured it.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
really fun.
Yeah.